She was pregnant. She had no legs. And she had a promise to keep to her dead father. To honor it, she would have to crawl 8 kilometers across a city on Independence Day. This is the story of what happened when she met her president. Every great journey begins with a promise whispered to the past, a promise held for the future. And sometimes, those promises are carried not just in the heart, but within the very essence of a new life. Tonight, we witness a different kind of strength, not of armies, nor of power, but of the unbreakable human spirit. This is a story that has been shared from phone to phone, from village to city, changing the way we look at courage, compassion, and what it truly means to overcome the impossible. This is the story of a young pregnant woman without legs who crawled into the parade, and how her journey, her hope, her sheer will, stopped everything, forcing a president to do the unthinkable. On August 5th, Independence Day in Burkina Faso, a journey began that would test every ounce of human strength, every fiber of a mother's resolve. Amina Traoré, at 24 years old and heavily pregnant, had made a solemn promise to her late father that one day she would see President Ibrahim Traoré pass along Avenue de l'Indépendance. 3 years ago, a motorcycle accident had stolen her legs, but not her spirit. 6 months later, the loss of her beloved father had left an even deeper void. Yet, his last words echoed in her heart. "My daughter, this young president will do great things. Show him that even those who look broken still dream." Now, with a new life stirring within her, that promise felt more urgent than ever. She wasn't just crawling for herself or for her father's memory. She was crawling for the future, for the unborn child she carried, for a dream of a Burkina Faso where every life mattered. To keep that promise, she was ready to crawl 8 kilometers across Ouagadougou. Her mother, Salamata, her face etched with worry, pleaded softly, "Amina, my daughter, are you really going to try this? It's over 8 kilometers. The crowds will be dangerous." "And you are carrying a child!" Amina slid on the leather handguards she had made herself. "Mama, I gave my word to Papa. He always said a person is measured by their promises, not their legs. And this child deserves to see what determination looks like. Your father would be proud." Salamata conceded, "But he would also want you safe. Take this bread and water. Promise me. Be careful." Amina forced a faint smile. "I promise, Mama." At 5:30 a.m., Ouagadougou still lay half in shadow when Amina began her arduous journey. Neighbors, long used to seeing her move on her arms, greeted her with quiet respect. "Where are you off to so early, Amina?" called Isa, the tea seller. "To see the president," she replied with a determined grin. "Today is the day." The first 2 hours passed in a blur of focused effort. But as the sun climbed higher, the roads thickened. Dust clung to her sweat-soaked skin. Her palms, even with the leather guards, began to burn raw. A taxi driver slowed, offering a ride. Amina, dripping with sweat, shook her head. "Thank you, but I must do this myself. I made a promise to my father. And to my child." The driver nodded with deep respect. "In our culture, promises to ancestors are sacred. May God give you strength." Meanwhile, just kilometers away, President Traoré was preparing for the Independence Day parade. "Colonel, we go slowly along Avenue de l'Indépendance. I want my people to see me, and I want to see them. This day belongs to them." Neither knew that at that very moment, a determined pregnant woman was crawling through the dust, step by painful step, holding on to her father's last wish and carrying the hope of a new generation. By early afternoon, The sun blazed overhead. Amina's arms trembled. Her pace slowed to a crawl. But each time despair crept in, her father's words returned. A person is worth their promises, not their legs. Razmatu, the shopkeeper, saw her struggle. Amina recounted her journey, her promise, her hope for her child and for the changing country. Razmatu's eyes glistened. She pressed a cold bottle of water into Amina's hands. Your father raised a true warrior. Take this gift. May the ancestors walk beside you. The avenue lay ahead, swelling with thousands of people. Amina had crawled over 8 kilometers, but the hardest part was still ahead, breaking into that human tide. From the ground, all she saw were legs and sandals, shifting endlessly, a maze that threatened to swallow her. Excuse me, madam, she whispered weakly. May I pass? The woman, Aminata, a market trader, gasped. Child, what are you doing down there? They'll crush you. Where is your family? Do you need help? Amina's voice was barely audible. I just need to move forward. I promised my father I'd be here. For my child. Her call spread. An older man, Osman Ouagadougou, a veteran of the independence struggle, pushed through. He knelt beside Amina. Daughter, did you truly crawl all this way? Yes, sir. From Sisson. I left before dawn. Usman stood tall, his voice ringing out. Brothers and sisters. This young woman, carrying a new life, came on her own strength to see her president. She is a patriot, like those who fought for our freedom. The story spread like wildfire. She crawled from Sisson. She's pregnant. She promised her father. Phones rose to capture the moment. What had begun as one woman's private struggle was now becoming a shared memory for the entire nation. Amina pushed forward with the help of those around her. Students formed a fragile human chain. We're almost there. Seiko, one of the students, shouted over the roar. Your father will be proud. Amina's heart pounded. She was barely 50 meters from the front row. Suddenly, the chain broke. The crowd surged. Amina cried out as a heavy boot lands on her bandaged hand. Blood seeps through. Tears stream down her face, not just from pain, but from despair. I can't go on, she gasped, her voice breaking. It's too much. Papa, I'm sorry. I tried, but I can't. Aminata, the market trader, stood tall, her voice filled with a sudden fire. No, not like this. This young woman came from Sisson, pregnant, to see her president. We will take her to the front. 6 strangers bent down without hesitation. With careful, reverent hands, they lifted Amina from the dust. The crowd parted as they carried her forward, their voices rising. Make way. Let her pass. She deserves the front. And so, lifted high by the arms of strangers who had become brothers and sisters, Amina reached the front row, just as the presidential convoy drew level. President Traoré's gaze moved from face to face, not as a distant leader, but as one of them. Then, amid thousands of cheering faces, his eyes locked on Amina. Dust-covered, exhausted, her hands heavily bandaged, her pregnant belly prominent. What struck him most was not the injuries, but the look on her face. Tears streaming, yet smiling with the triumph of someone who had done the impossible. Stop the car, Traoré ordered suddenly. Mr. President, is there a security issue? Colonel Ouagadougou turned sharply. No, Traoré replied firmly. But I need to speak with that young woman. The one without legs, the one carrying a child. A hush falls over the avenue. Cheers fade into stunned silence. Traoré opens the door and steps out. He walks forward, raising a hand to hold back his guards. The crowd parts. Amina's chest tightened. Her mind reeled. The president of Burkina Faso, walking toward her? Is this real? She whispered. Aminata gripped her shoulder. My daughter, the president is coming to you. He's coming to you. Traoré reaches her and immediately kneels, so their eyes are level. Good afternoon, young woman, the president said gently. My name is Ibrahim. What is yours? Amina's throat closed. She had dreamed of this moment, but never believed it would come true. At last, she forced the words out. Amina Traoré, Mr. President. Amina, I can see your journey was long. Your clothes are torn. Your hands are bleeding. Tell me, where did you come from? From Sisson, Mr. President. I left before dawn. I crawled here. A murmur swept through the crowd. Even hardened security agents glanced at one another in disbelief. You crawled all that way, carrying a child, just to stand here today? Yes, Mr. President, Amina said, her voice trembling. I promised my father before he died that I would one day be in the front row when you passed. He always said you were different, that you cared for people like us. And I want my child to know that no obstacle is too great for a dream. Traoré's expression softened. He placed a hand on Amina's shoulder. In that moment, he was not a head of state, but a man moved by another's courage. Amina, your father was right. And today, you've shown us the kind of Burkinabè we need. Someone who keeps her promises, no matter the obstacle, no matter the burden she carries. Then Traoré rose and turned to the sea of faces, his voice carried through microphones, strong and clear. People of Burkina Faso, today you have witnessed the true spirit of our nation. This young woman, carrying a new life, crawled more than 8 kilometers to honor her father's promise and to show us the strength of hope. If we all carried Amina's determination, no dream would be beyond our reach. The crowd erupted in thunderous cheers, but Traoré wasn't finished. He bent down, lifted Amina into his arms, carefully supporting her pregnant form, and held her high. Today, Amina Traoré will not return home crawling, he declared. Today, she returns as my guest of honor in the presidential car. Instead of going straight to his car, Traoré did something no one expected. Greeting the people, he began walking down as if the parade itself now belonged to them both. Cameras flashed. Live streams spread across the world. The image of a leader carrying a citizen who carried only faith and a promise would travel far beyond Burkina Faso. Thank you, sir. My father would be proud. My child will know this story. Traoré looked down, smiling warmly. Amina, it is I who am proud today. You showed me the true meaning of being Burkinabè. 6 months after the day that changed everything, Amina Traoré woke each morning to a life that still felt unreal. The cramped room in Sisson was gone. In its place stood a modest home, every detail made for her independence and for the arrival of her baby. But the biggest change wasn't the house. It was how her life and the lives of thousands of Burkinabè with disabilities had begun to open. That June morning, she straightened her outfit for her work at the Ministry of Social Action. Fatou, the nurse who once bandaged her bleeding hands, was now her partner in life and in purpose. Amina, are you ready? Fatou called. Amina rolled out in her motorized chair, a personal gift from the president. Look, Fatou said, tapping a headline. The Promises Kept program has already helped more than 5,000 people. Amina studied a photo of children in wheelchairs playing soccer and smiled, holding her baby close. This is what matters, she said. Not just the help itself, but that these kids grow up knowing they can dream. Later, the president arrived with little ceremony, embracing Amina in a brief, warm hug. "Sister, how are things here?" he asked. "Very well, Mr. President. 5,000 people supported, 800 jobs created, and more importantly, minds are changing." "And the African Union?" Amina said. "They want us to present the Promises Kept program at the next summit. Ghana, Senegal, and Côte d'Ivoire are interested." The president leaned forward. "Will you go, Amina? Represent us?" Amina swallowed. "It would be an honor. Sometimes I still can't believe this is my life." "Amina, that day on Avenue de l'Indépendance, when I stopped the convoy, some thought I'd lost my mind. But I saw in your eyes the same fire that carried our people to independence. I knew my job wasn't just to rule from a palace. It was to recognize the greatness of Burkinabè wherever it appears." Amina blinked back tears. She looked at her baby. "When my father died, I lost hope. The promise I made to him kept me alive day by day. I thought my story had ended. Now I see it was the beginning. He was right about you and about me. A person is worth their promises, not their legs." "Forgive the interruption, but there's news. The United Nations has selected Amina's story as a model of inclusion. They want her to speak at the General Assembly." Silence filled the room. Amina looked to the president, who broke into a wide smile. "Well, sister," Traoré said, "are you ready to carry Burkina Faso's message to the world?" Amina laughed through wet eyes. "A year ago, I was crawling through Ouagadougou just to see your car pass. Now you're asking me to speak at the United Nations? If this isn't a miracle, what is?" "The miracle is you," Traoré said gently. "Your faith, your promise, your will. Those came from within. Now the world will see it." Later that day, after the president left, Amina lingered by her office window. In the courtyard below, children in wheelchairs chased a ball, shouting and laughing. Dreams. Out in the open. She picked up her phone and dialed home. "Mama, it's me," she said. "Are you sitting? I have news." When she told her mother about the United Nations invitation, the line went quiet. Then she heard Salamata's soft, joyful sobs. "My daughter," she said, through tears, "your father would be so proud. He always knew you were meant for great things." "Mama," Amina whispered, "this weekend I'll go to his grave. I need to tell him everything, and thank him for teaching me that promises give life meaning." That evening she returned home to find a table set. Aminata, Usman, Seiko, Fatu, and others who had lifted her from the dust that day and carried her forward ever since. For Amina, Aminata cheered, raising her glass. "The young woman who proved no dream is too big." "And for promises kept," added Osman. "And for a president who recognizes true greatness." Amina raised a hand for quiet. She looked at all the faces, then at her sleeping baby. "My friends, my family. A year ago, I was a young woman without legs, pregnant, crawling with a dream that seemed impossible. Today, I help lead a national program. I share a home with a woman I love. Soon, I'll speak for our country. None of this would have happened without you. When you lifted me toward the front row, you weren't just helping a stranger. You showed what it means to be Burkinabè. When one of us struggles, we all rise." And so, when dawn returned, Amina knew she would rise with the same resolve that once carried her across the city. The most important promises are not only the ones we make to others, but the ones we keep with ourselves about the kind of person we choose to be. In Burkina Faso, the land of upright men, a young woman without legs, carrying a new life, has shown the world that real strength isn't what we have, but what we decide to do with who we are. Amina's journey shows that promises kept, whether to our families, to our nation, or to ourselves, can inspire change far beyond what we imagine. When compassion meets courage, a single act of determination can lift an entire country. If you were touched by this story, write, "God bless President Traoré" in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss these powerful stories of hope and change. And please turn on the notification bell to be the first to watch our next upload. Thank you for watching and for supporting this journey. Every view, every comment, every share helps spread light where there has been darkness. Stay blessed and see you in the next story.